Jackie Lee Prize for Shadowboxruk UK, finally able to pin down Mr. Stephen Broughton. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. Beautiful. Thank you for first inviting me down here to see the preparations going on behind the scenes. How's everything going?
Yeah, good. Pretty busy, to be honest. It's good because these guys are keeping me out of the house. I'm in every day with these guys, getting them ready for their fight. So it's keeping me occupied, so I can't complain.
Nice. I've got to say, so you're like this new breed of coach that's coming through.
Yeah.
Yourself, there's Ben Davison. I'd like to take it back a little bit and just find out a little bit about you, because I'm sure you're aware in this field that people are going to go, where has he come from?
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, firstly, how you got into boxing.
Okay, so I mean, I've been a boxing fan my whole life, probably like most of us in the game. How I actually got into the sport was when I first moved to London, so I was at university, I did my degree, decided I didn't want to pursue a career in that field, so I left and I went into personal training. It was something I'd done my whole life, training and competing, not in boxing but in various different sports. So I moved to London to work as a PT, and the gym I happened to work at, Shane McGuigan, was being sponsored by them. So I met Shane whilst I was there, and we did little bits in there, just messing around together, like pads and bits of sparring. Pretty sure he gave me a pretty good left hook early on, and he's a good little puncher, Shane. So yeah, we were messing around, and I got to know him there. He stopped boxing and he joined that same gym, so he was coaching boxing there. So again, we did bits of training together and stuff, and yeah, we basically just established a friendship there. I left London and I went back home to Gloucestershire, where I'm from, and whilst I was there, I went to Gloucester Amateur Boxing Club, and I went down there and I went to see about coaching, and the head coach was a guy called Sean Holmes, and he actually had leukemia at the time. He just recently found out, and I say it was convenient timing, but obviously for him, it was obviously taking a toll on him, and therefore he had to take a step back. So it was kind of a fortunate time for me that I came in. I'd just done my coaching qualifications, and there was another guy in there called Scott Gibbons, who was this like second coach. So I started in there. I started coaching with the amateurs. I was back home in Gloucestershire for I think about 3 years. So yeah, that's kind of, that's where I got my first taste of coaching, and that's where I kind of started to learn my trade. And I actually had an amateur fight whilst I was there. Randomly, I was coaching, and we had a show down in Wales, and I think the heavyweight guy didn't have an opponent, so I stepped in. Yeah, I mean, it didn't go that well, but but it was good. It was good to get in anyway. So, but that's where I started coaching, and yeah, I was there for 3 years. And then I got a call from Shane, actually, McGuigan, who had started his own place. He had Carl Frampton, and I think they just signed Conrad Cummings. And my friend Daryl, he was the S&C guy for Shane, he was there, and they called me up and said, look, we're looking to expand and sign a few more guys. Do you want to come back down and work with us? And, I was like, yep. I wanted to come back to London anyway. I'd planned to go home, be there for 6 months, sort my money out and come back, but I ended up staying for 3 years, which is a blessing in disguise, because like I said, I had the amateurs where I started to learn the game. But yeah, I came back to London, and that was it. It was pretty much straight in from there.
I mean, number one, it's fantastic that you've kind of learnt your trade on the amateur scene as well, because
yeah.
It does. You have so many different types of fighters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm trying to think now. Like, like Gloucester it wasn't a huge club. Like, I'm sure, like there are some, especially in London, you get some pretty big clubs. Like I think Islington, where I think Masood is at, is like 60, 70 people. Like we were probably something like, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 guys down there, and there are a few seniors, there are a lot of juniors, so yeah, it's a little bit different to the pro game, of course, like, but yeah, you see all types of stuff, and it's that phase of boxing as well where a lot of people haven't really necessarily developed a style yet, so your influence at that point in time can be massive, because absolutely, you can either make someone like habits, and you can instill good habits into someone, or you can instill bad habits into someone. So yeah, you have quite a lot of sway over the direction someone might end up going. So
I mean, in that respect, I was thinking, you know, you were saying that you've only had like about 20, maybe 20 people. I mean, in a respect that's a good thing, because then you can really, like you say, you can hone in.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in that situation where you got 60 fighters coming in, and you know, even with a small group like ours, like 20 to 30, it's enough. Like, guys are coming in, they're coming, like, you know, the coaches are coming in after work, the kids or some of the seniors are coming in after work, and some of the juniors are coming in after school or whatever. You might have our club, we had the juniors and then the seniors back to back, and it'd be like 60, I don't know, maybe 90-minute sessions, and you have limited time, and it's very hard to give time to everybody. So you know, you're putting guys together, and they're doing drills with each other, and they're messing around over there, and they're messing around.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, it's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult. Like, so you have to have really good like systems, I think, in amateur clubs to ensure that you're getting the best out of everybody when you can't get that one-to-one contact. So, you know, it's good to, everybody knows what they're doing. You have specific drills, specific things to set up, like I said, good practices and good habits. So
yeah, so you get that call to come back up to London. I mean, were you slightly daunted because it's a massive name? Do you know what I mean?
I didn't think about it that way, I don't think, because like I said, we were friends. I don't know. Yeah, for me, it was a bit more like, oh, it's an exciting opportunity. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get to be around like high quality boxing, you know, and this is what we're going to be doing day in, day out. So like when I was back in Gloucester, yes, I was at the amateur club, but I was working in a law firm like every day, like, you know, dealing with road traffic incidents and stuff like that. So it was really exciting. I mean, it was occasionally exciting when somebody got a bit leery, but no, yeah, it was like, for me, it was like, oh, great, look, I can come back and do this full time now. So, and I was working with people I liked, who were my friends. So, you know, I couldn't have asked for a better opportunities. Yeah.
I interviewed one of my favourite fighters, Carl Frampton.
Yes.
And you have actually been in his corner. You've held pads.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Carl Frampton.
Yeah, Carl. I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of Carl still. It's interesting. So yeah, I went back to McGuigan's, and I think I don't know if it was just before I worked there. It was there or thereabouts, and he was fighting Hugo Cazares. I think that was the first. No, that was the second fight of Carl's I'd actually seen live. The first one was a guy called Chris Hughes in York Hall. But I went there and I saw that fight, and the next camp he was in was Kiko Martinez world title. And that was my second corner. So on that night, third. So we had Anthony Kakachi, Conrad Cummings, who were on the undercard. And then the third fight I did in the corner was Kiko and Carl. And obviously it was a ridiculous night. They built the stadium out in the Titanic arena. Well, I think the Titanic area, whatever it was called. I don't know, what was it, 17, maybe 20,000 people. It was outside, it was freezing cold. Like, we just had t-shirts on, it was freezing cold, but like, you know, you were so engaged in what was going on. Yeah. Everyone had little rain max in case it rained, but it was an incredible night. And, you know, that was my first night in professional boxing, like working. Wow. Like, I'm not sure you could have a better first night than that. I mean, yeah, it was insane. So, yeah, Carl, great professional. He does what needs to be done. I think he's achieved more than he probably thought he would achieve. Against Jamel Herring. Tough fight. He's a big, tall. He's huge. I mean, everybody's tall next to Carl. Sorry, Carl, but Herring. I mean, he's like 5'11", I think. So he's a big boy.
I did offer myself up for sparring.
Yeah.
Before we went, I said, listen, listen. If you can beat me, Carl,
you can beat him.
You can beat him.
You can beat him. No, I think he had Kakachi in for sparring a little bit. Who one is a fantastic puncher. Two, he's pretty tall himself. He's like 5'10", 5'11", and he can fight out of both stances.
Obviously, you were at McGuigan's, then you moved on, didn't you? You were at Mr. Hayes' gym for a while.
I was at Mr. Hayes' gym, yeah. So obviously David, I met through, he came to work with us when he came out of retirement.
Yeah.
So he had, I can't remember the guy's name. He had 2 fights. He came out of retirement with us, and then he had the Bellew fight. I was still at McGuigan's for Bellew 1, and then it was after that fight I left there. David, he lost the rematch.
Yeah.
He retired. You know what? I've got this wrong. I've got the timings wrong in my head.
Too many punches to the head.
Yeah, too many. It's Masood kicking me. I can't remember. No, I think I'm right. Yeah, he had the rematch. That's right. So he started the Haymaker Promotions, where he signed Joe Joyce, Willie Hutchinson, who's now with the Ingalls, Kez Ashfaq, who's now not sure who he's with now,
With Matchroom.
and Michael Venom Page randomly, who was in boxing for a little bit. So yeah, he had a couple of the MMA guy. Yeah, he was signed to Haymaker for a bit, and I think he had 2 pro fights whilst he was there. But yeah, so I was there then. David, obviously, I had a relationship with David from the McGuigans, and he said to me, "Look, we're going to be doing some things over here. I know you're not working with Shane anymore. Like, do you want to come over?" And I was like, I was floating around. I was doing my own thing. It was, again, an opportunity. He said, "You're going to get to work with Salas. We're going to bring in Joyce." And again, fantastic opportunity. I've been very fortunate. I've been incredibly fortunate because I bounced from one place, fantastic place, to another fantastic place.
What's amazing though is, for us that love boxing, it's not really a job, is it? Let's be fair.
Yeah, no, it's, well, actually, it is a job when you have to.
I can see Masood.
When you have to deal with this guy every day, apart from that, no, it's fantastic. Like, everyone has that old adage about if you do what you love, you don't have to work a day in your life, and it's fantastic. I mean, I still, it's not. Obviously, I'm coaching professional boxers, yes, but I still work as a normal job. Like, so I'm still training. Like, I still PT people. I still have normal clients, and that's still what pays my bills. So I still work. But yeah, I mean, being able, and for that period when I was at Haymaker, obviously that was my full-time job. So I was just then working with pro fighters. I wasn't training clients or anything. So it's fantastic.
So you have obviously soaked up a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
and
I've tried.
Well, you must have done something wrong if you haven't.
Yeah.
If you haven't, when you're in those environments, just for me, it'd just be like a sponge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was some criticism. I'm gonna bring this up because there really was some criticism that when Ismael couldn't be in the corner of Joe Boyce, you stepped in. Talk to me about that process of, did you get a phone call, or had you already been working with Ismael, so you kind of knew the game plan?
So the way this went was basically Salas has got his own gym in Vegas, and he has a lot of fighters. I don't know how many. I mean, he's got, I don't know, over 10 pros, but we're not talking like guys just starting out. He's got Thomas DeLorme, he's got Robisi Ramirez, a gold medalist from Rio. He's got who's the guy who fought Sean Porter, middleweight, Ugas. He's got Ugas, so he did have Linares. So he's got a lot of guys out there, and basically we knew when the Dubois fight was. So I basically had a conversation with Salas, and I was like, "This is how I think Joe should fight Salas, and Joe should fight Dubois." And Salas was like, "Yeah, I agree with this, and I think this is this." And I was like, "Okay, this is the game plan." So we established a game plan. Salas was in Vegas, so I started the camp with Joe. I can't remember what we did. Maybe we did probably 4 weeks before we had the date. Then we got the date and we upped it. Then he was in proper camp. So we started working on things properly. I think for 3 weeks, it was me and Joe. Then Salas come over and it was me, Joe and Salas. So again, we had the game plan set. Salas was over. He was introducing these little drills and stuff that he likes to do. Obviously, I was there for all of that. And then he had like 3 guys fighting 3 weeks back to back. So he went back to Vegas. Obviously, I stayed here with Joe. We carried on the camp. So the plan was Salas went back to Vegas, and then he was coming back in for fight week. Comes back in on fight week, and obviously Sam Jones and Adam Morali, with Joe's managers, were aware. He's been over in Vegas. He's travelled around. COVID. So when he came back in, he was in a separate hotel.
Yeah.
So we all went to the bubble. Obviously, you get tested. He got tested, and he came back positive for COVID. Yeah. So obviously, we were able to get around it because when he came back, he didn't have contact with Joe or the team before we went to the thing. They were like, okay, we'll allow this to go. Now, yeah, a lot of people were like, oh my God, who's this guy? But I had been there from day dot. Like,
I'm not being funny, but like, to me it was quite comical because why would people think that like, all of a sudden nobody else apart from him training, Joe, there's no other part of a team, and all of a sudden it's almost like you were walking by. I would
take that guy. No, I mean, I don't know, it's it's boxing and nothing surprises me anymore. Like, all you have to do is go and look in the comment section on Instagram on basically anything to do with boxing, and it's ridiculous. But
you must have felt after a little, didn't you want to go? See? Who's talking now?
No, I mean,
I can't hear you.
I guess like you kind of hope that the performance does that for itself. And I think it did. Like,
Absolutely.
Like he was a huge underdog. Like nobody gave him a chance in that fight. And that's the one thing that kind of irks me about like boxing fans and Joe is like, firstly, Joe is one of the nicest guys in boxing. He is down to earth. He's super nice. He gets on with everyone. Super friendly. Like doesn't have a bad word to say about anybody. He gets written off. Like Dubois was going to blow him out of the water. It wasn't going to go 2 rounds. He was going to get smashed. He's too slow. Blah blah blah. Beats him, and not only beats him, stops him. Okay, goes to like the next talk for Usyk. He's too slow. He can't. He's blah blah blah. Like it's just they just don't give the guy a break. Like, and like in those situations, all you can do is respond through your performances, and that's what he does. And it's not for me to talk about it. Like he's the fighter at the end of the day. The focus is on him. I don't care what people say about me, and I'm not there for what people. I'm there for those guys. And if they do well, brilliant. If they fall short, and I need to take criticism for that because it's something I haven't done, fair enough. That's my job. Like, but whatever. People are always going to talk.
Your performance or their performances are the things that basically just will make people zip it.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Well, you'd hope so. They won't because
no, it's true.
because in boxing it doesn't matter what you do. Like if you're like Canelo, for example, now, like he goes up, he beats this guy. He goes up, he beats this guy. They're like, oh, why didn't he fight Joshua? Like, what? He couldn't beat Joshua, okay? And you're like, it's just they just put the next thing in front of you that you're not going to be able to achieve until they get somewhere where you don't achieve it, and then they're like, oh, I told you. And I'm like,
yeah, it's true.
It's just it's weird. I don't think you get it with any other type of sports. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe you do, but it just seems like combat sports, particularly, like you can only you can only laugh about it really, but it's how it goes. Like,
so you've come into the world of professional boxing and very quickly achieved a lot, and yet your feet still remain on the ground. I mean, that's I think very rare these days.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, like it is something I love to do, but it is my job, and like for me, it's just about trying to do that to the best of my ability. Like you say, I'm still like, if I was a fighter, I would be a novice, right? I would, in terms of experience and time spent in the game, I would be a novice, and I'm still learning stuff. I'm like, it's not long now since I've been coaching and I've been the head coach on my own. Like, I was there, I was under Shane. Like, Shane was the main coach, I was his assistant. I was there with Salas was the main coach, I was his assistant. And now obviously I've got these guys coming through.
For the pressure?
Maybe a little bit, but I'd say it was probably more from myself than anything external, because I mean, you've met me a few times. I don't really care much about other people and what they got to say. Like, I mean, yeah, I know. Some people, like, I don't know, they probably look at me and they're like, he's a bit of an asshole. But I just don't have time for the opinions and stuff. Like, it is what it is. Like I appreciate more those people who take the risk and put themselves. That's like the Dubois fight. Some people are like, did you think about not stepping up and doing it? And I'm like, but why?
I mean, you're a fool, to be honest with you.
What do you get? Like, for me, it's like, what do you get into the game for? why do you want to be in it?
100%.
Like, so the opportunity presents itself now. Okay, yeah, I could get, but this is what we're there for. So you got to step up when those opportunities present themselves. So yes, maybe like you're nervous. Yes, maybe like you have different things, you have doubts, but that's part of it. And like you can either just fade off into the background or you can step up. And for me, that's kind of what it's about. Like now, I'm still learning stuff all the time. Like, you know, we go here, we spar these guys. We were down at Ben Davison's a lot for Leewood getting ready for his fight. So our guys Masood and Newman Hussein did a lot of sparring up there. I picked stuff up from those guys. I picked stuff up from Ben. We go and spar down at the Peacock. We were sparring Louis Lee and Chris Bork. I picked stuff up from Martin. I picked, you know, it's always it's non-stop. And I think sometimes in boxing you get people who kind of like they know it all already. There's nothing else to learn or nothing else to do. And as someone like coming through still new in the game, like I pick up stuff all the time off people. I pick up stuff from fights. I pick up stuff from coaches we go and spar. I pick up stuff like online. Like there's always that, and literally you can learn stuff watching any fight. Like you can watch two journeymen fight and learn something from watching that. So for me, it's always a learning process. And obviously, there's things that I'm like relatively self-critical. So even like whatever, when we're doing pads or this sparring or we're doing tech stuff, you know, that I'm always like trying to think, oh, how can I make this better, or how can I communicate this better? Like it's not even necessarily how can I just do it better, but sometimes it's about how you break it down to somebody. Like some people pick stuff up in a certain way, some people pick stuff up in another way. And as a coach, it's important to be able to try and do your best to communicate in the best way for that fighter or that person, so that they can implement the things that you want them to do. So yeah, it's always a learning process, and I think it's one of those sports like I think it is changing a little bit, and you've got quite a lot of new blood coming through and different ideas coming into the sport, but there's still quite a lot of that kind of just, yeah, it's this way or it's no way, like
the old school way.
Yeah. And like, look, there was a lot of things that worked like in the olden times. There was a lot of things that worked back then which maybe don't work now, and there's a lot of stuff that did work then that still does work now, and maybe it's fallen out of popularity, or you know, it was a different era. But speaking of people from different eras, obviously Marvin Hagler, who's just passed away. Like, you know, those guys are doing some things that I think. One of the things I think they were doing now, then, which they don't necessarily do now, is maybe just because, I don't know, we've got social media and all this nowadays, and everyone wants to look. You know, you didn't have that then. There was no, oh, we're going to put this on the gram or whatever. It was just no. I think maybe they just started doing pad work, but it was just like, you know, do some pads or do some bag work, do some calisthenics, do some runs and spar and learn. You know, people learn everything in sparring back in the day. Like there was no, oh, we're going to draw this on the pads and like trying. You know, people used to learn stuff in sparring, and I think it was. I wouldn't say it was a harder graft, but it was just
So my understanding is actually that sparring was quite hard back in the day. Back in the olden days, Duke McKenzie was saying, you know, a lot of those, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but a lot of the spars were like fights. Yeah, and I think when you listen to a lot of the guys from eras gone by, it does seem like that. Like, you know, with my guys now, we do a lot of like tech sparring. It's not that hard. Like we're not trying to kill them in the spar all the time. We're trying to learn stuff or work on particular things. I don't think tech sparring was probably a thing back then. Like that's what I mean. I'm not sure that was one of the things. I mean, obviously, like at McGuigan's, there was Barry McGuigan. I can't see Barry like doing tech sparring. I imagine his spars were brutal. Like there was 15 rounds when he was fighting. Then I imagine they were just as hard as fights. And you know, I think some guys used to spar every day, and like it was a different era. People used to fight a lot more often. There was none of this fight 2 times a year. If you were fighting 2 times a year, then I'm sure nobody knew you were. Like you were nobody. Like, you know, you had guys. Like, I mean, even Tyson. He's not that long ago. In his first year, I think he had 18 fights or 17 fights in his first year as a pro. Insane. Like you don't get that nowadays. So the game's changed a little bit, and yeah. There's bits of it that work and bits of it that don't work, but it's trying to
trying to
Navigate
look
that.
at those things, navigate those things and see what works for you, see what works for your guys. And like I said, it's a learning sport. And
100%. So you work with some great talent, Joe Joyce, Guido Vianello, Masood Abdullah, to name a few. What is your process of picking talent to work with? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to be trained by you.
I don't know, like it's not like I don't know. Obviously, some people ask me like about training and if I can train them. Obviously, Joe I've known for a while. Like I was there at the beginning of Joe's career because I was a Haymaker, so I was there I think for his first 2 or 3 pro fights, and then I was left Haymaker. I was there. I wasn't there for the camp because Joe was in Big Bear with I've forgotten his name now, Abel Sanchez, but I was there for the fight against Bermain Stavern. So I've been in the corner with Joe for maybe 4 fights, and he only had 9. And then Dubois and the one before that, the one he had, there was just like to get the ring rust off. Like I was there for those, so maybe like six of his fights. So I was there from the beginning with him. And I'm not sure if Guido had already left when he'd spoken to his management team. He'd made the decision to leave Vegas. They know me, obviously I work with Joe, and they thought, why not put these 2 together and see what happens. Obviously these guys, Masood and Steph.
I heard Masood begged you.
Yeah, he did. Like Newman Hussein, who's amateur, who's just turning over pro as well. He's in the gym and he kept annoying me, asking me to train this little mosquito kind of annoying guy that we had in the gym. I didn't really know who he was. I just saw him sparring now and then. And I used to give Newman tips when he was sparring Masood on how to beat Masood.
And all of a sudden
and now I'm training Masood, and I'm telling him how to beat up Newman. So yeah.
One person that I forgot as well.
Yeah, forget that guy, Natty. He was with the army. It was taking a long time. I think with the army, he has to be authorized by this guy and then authorized by that guy until he got his license. So he got his license, but he also, I think right at the end of his amateur career, he had a car crash and he had a pretty bad, I think it was an Achilles injury. So he recovered from that, and yeah, he started the process of turning over and was down here training. But you could see when he was training, it was something bothering him with the ankle, the leg, and he kept like almost like just dragging it along the floor. And he went and saw the doctors, and they said that his ankle ligaments were still ruptured, and he was training on ruptured ligaments. So he had to have keyhole surgery. He had to have 2 ops. So one was just in December, I think, just before Christmas, and then he had the other one just in February. So he's had both of those. He's just starting the rehab now, and also actually now there's Amy Andrews who's training with us too. So yeah, it's a good little stable, and most of these guys all know each other. Like Masood, Newman, Amy all knew each other. They were all in here. I think they all knew Steph, but Steph was not training from here. He was from Broughton, and but they all knew each other from the amateurs. Natty as well was not in here. Natty messaged me on Instagram, I think through Masood, asking me if. So like, you know, the guys come down, and what for me it was like, do these guys have potential to be good pros?
Yeah.
One. And then once you get down and you start training them, it's about what is their work ethic. Like, people are skillful, people have talent, but what happens when, like, at McGuigan's, like, a lot, if guys come over and do stuff, they'd be in sparring straight away, because you can tell a lot from sparring. Like, do guys really want it, or, you know? So I think I actually might adopt that for myself. Just anyone who wants to train. It's hard because, like I said, I do work full time as well, and that's what puts the bread on the table. So I only have really limited time. I can't take on too many people. Her, Natty, and Masood were all national champions in the same year, or when the elite ABAs in the same year. So. Yeah, they're all primed and ready to go. Obviously, Masood's now finally had his debut, the long-awaited debut, which took forever.
Who did you have to pay for that?
I don't know. Who did you pay, Masood?
So talking about Masood Abdullah, Let's talk about him for a second because, you know, he'd waited all that time and yes, it was so frustrating. It was frustrating
Yep.
for us who were waiting, so I'm sure it was even worse for you. But then he doesn't get on the telly. How disappointing is that?
Yeah, that was... I was surprised. I thought, obviously, Frampton fight got rescheduled or whatever, so that wasn't on. Then there was Kikachi was supposed to be the headline. That fell through because Leon Woodstock had COVID. So I was like, okay, well, you've had the two main event, well, two 12-rounders off the show. Sure, there must be enough airtime for everybody to get on, but... And then they were like, oh, Masood's going to go on pre-live before the show goes live. And I was like, okay, well, still, there must be enough airtime, so I guess they'll pre-record and then drop him in somewhere else. And then, like, you know, Sam Noakes went in one round. I'm like, that was a scheduled 6-rounder, so I'm like, you got space to drop it? Didn't drop him in. Like, I mean, Tommy Fury won in 2 rounds, I think, maybe.
Yep.
And they didn't drop it in the show. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure. I mean...
I think it worked in his favour, though, to a point, because
yeah,
people were literally desperate.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think there were 3 debuts on the show. Adam Mohammed was on there also, who we'd actually sparred a bit in preparation for that fight. And, you know, Masood was the only one of the 3 debuts who stopped his opponent. But nobody saw it, so I don't know. I mean, I think he put on a decent performance. You know, he was aggressive. He got his guy out of there, and I think hopefully the guys at BT and were satisfied enough that next time he'll be shown live.
Looking good today.
Yeah. He's getting better. Like it's been a relatively slow process. I mean, with Steph, I started training with him back in November 2019. So I was just getting ready for the Chisora David Price fight. And it was at the weigh-in, I think Steph spoke to me and he's like, blah, 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 like, can we do some training? And then like he's working down at Cobox and I started doing bits with him. And then there was a kind of period where he was waiting to turn over, but I didn't really know if he was turning over. So, and then there was a time where I was like, look, what are we doing? Are we going pro? Or are we not going pro? Or, like, just because obviously, like I said, I have limited time, so I can't. But obviously he got all his papers and everything done. He's now signed with Warren Boxing Management also. And yeah, it's been a long process, but Masood's has been a long process. But yeah, he's coming together bit by bit. I think with Steph, I think of all the guys I've got, I think he was the least experienced in terms of amateurs. I think he had the least amount of fights in terms of amateurs. And I think also over quite a long period of time, I think he was an amateur for like 7 years. But like for having 7 years of experience, 7 years of being an amateur, he didn't really have 7 years of experience fighting.
But has that worked in your favour slightly as well? Because almost you're having to undo amateur style to then
yes.
put on your pro.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess it is, advantageous to me to a degree because, I mean, I wasn't there like in the amateurs, so I don't know how much coaching he got. But like I said earlier, with amateurs, you can almost mold their style from that early age if you're in there. Now with him, because I'm not sure, but I don't think he's had stacks of coaching. It's almost like getting a blank canvas that you can start and build from. So yes, that is advantageous. And like I said, like there were things. Yeah, it's good. Steph is like, I mean, he's huge cruiserweight. You know, 6'6", huge wingspan, dynamite in his right hand. Like he's got all the tools, super long arms. But one of the earliest things you noticed, or I noticed when he's sparring, he didn't know how to control range. And it's that lack of experience that he has from the amateurs that now we have to start. So that's why it's a slower process with him because, yeah, like that's what you get from that's what the amateurs is for, like essentially to start working those things out and you start getting those foundations in place. So when you transfer to the pros, it's already there. But because he doesn't have that much experience as an amateur, we have to do that now. So you have to do it slowly. But he's starting to get it now. He's starting to click into place. Just things like ring generalship, like ring positioning, like managing distance, all of those types of things you have to take into account. And we're building it up slowly. And I think, once it all starts to click, he can be a dangerous guy. Like, yeah. He can be a very dangerous guy.
Do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's so apparent that you love this game, and I think that's only can, you know, be the great thing for your boxers. I really do. So
Yeah.
thanks ever so much for giving us your
No,
time.
thank you very much. It's been a while in the making.
It has, but it's all good.
Yeah, no, everything's a while in the making, I think, to do with me. The fights, like the interviews, it's just part of the process, but it's good.